This edition of our podcast is brought to you by 360 Health and Well Balanced Nutrition.
Welcome to the Health Geeks Book Club podcast. Listen in as Kristen Norton and Eleanor Russell review all those great health and wellness books you've been wanting to read or you have read and want to talk about. Here's Kristen and Eleanor.
Oh, we just can't keep talking. So this is our Chit-Chat again today. I'm Eleanor Russell, 360health4u.com.
And I'm Kristen Norton with Well Balanced Nutrition.
And we've been reading so many books, and I wanted to mention an item that showed up in one, and I didn't get to talk about it, and then it showed up in another one, and that topic is hormesis. That's a word that a lot of people have not bumped into.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, until you read these books, right?
Yeah.
And I got excited. So, it has to do with poison. You know, we're talking about healthy lifestyles. So why would we be talking about poison? And I've thought a lot about this in my spare time, that we would avoid poisons, right? That's a logical thing to do.
Like a hard no, right?
Yeah, right. I don't need a
want
poison. But way back in the Dark Ages, no, even before that, I read about this fella that was the emperor of Turkey, and his mother poisoned him. And, you know, there's those Greek, the Italian family, the Borgias. Borgia, yeah. They got into poisoning each other, and so it was a way to control the family estate, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But one of these dudes decided, okay, if my mom's going to poison my brother, you know, I guess I should prepare myself. And I'm going to take a little bit of poison, and I'm going to build up a resistance to it. And so he did that until he decided to commit suicide and poison himself.
Oh, dear.
But that idea kind of caught on, and even some Chinese emperors decided to take little bits of poison because they thought it would toughen them up. You know, and if anybody tried to poison them, it wouldn't work. They'd be resistant. That's kind of interesting. So hormesis in our topics for wellness, are there some things that we would say are not good for us that might be good for us? And that's the idea that perked up in these books.
And good for us in that it can help us
have a healthier life.
Or tolerate
maybe.
Exposure to it?
I guess. But the one that caught me was in The Switch when James Clement said, well, maybe you should have a cigar. And I'm going, smoke? Oh my gosh, how many years have we heard that we're not supposed to smoke? And this guy's saying, it's okay to have a cigarette. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I need to reconsider. And anyway, what he's talking about is that there's some evidence that a little bit of that carbon monoxide or whatever it is you get in the fumes of the cigarette, not to mention the nicotine that we know about and all these other issues, impurities that come in with them and damage your lungs. But maybe an infrequent exposure to that stimulates some of these cellular processes like autophagy that help clean up a cell in an interesting way. So a little protective benefit. And yes, people that study toxicology talk about a biphasic curve where the substance can have a beneficial effect and can have a toxic effect. And there's other evidence. I wish I could track it down. I'll look through the books we read quickly, and I know it's in one of these books about the dock workers, and maybe back in the 30s or 40s, were moving around radioactive material as we were thinking about the bomb construction. And the suggestion in the scientific community was that if they followed those dock workers, they would see worse health outcomes over time because of those exposures. And they didn't. They actually found that group of people had a better survivability than their counterparts that had not had the exposure.
Wow.
Yeah, and that really bumped me a little bit. So when we're talking about alcohol, you know, and Elizabeth Blackburn in The Telomere Effect said, you know, while a glass of wine with dinner occasionally may have some benefits, and we're seeing a lot of reports coming out now about some of the compounds in wines are healthy, resveratrol for one, is not a bad idea. But if you do it in excess and drive a car, it might kill you. Or if you do it in excess, it could disrupt your sleep patterns. So that was another example that she came up with in her writing. And then I think the other thing that she talked about was stress. And when we look at Spark and exercise, where we're talking about a little bit of exercise might not get you the beneficial effects, but if you get to that area that it does, you can also over-exert and over-exercise, and that is not healthy. So in a way, that's a hormetic relationship as well. A little is good, a lot is not good.
Right. I want to say it's all about balance, but some of it, it's not even balance. It's just a little bit here, like he's not saying smoke one cigarette every day.
Oh, no. No. I don't think he suggested that.
No, he didn't. Absolutely not. But, occasionally it's fine and can stimulate
maybe
some healthy things in our body.
So that idea of, enjoying your life. And I had a mentor back in my teenage years that, your parents try to tell you stuff and you don't believe anything they say. Yeah, because they're stupid and you don't like them and all that. And then you find out later, oh my gosh, I had the best parents in the world. Right. They were really smart. But he could guide me a little bit, and he would say things like, variety is the spice of life, but not married life. So this idea of variety in life is true. I think when your food, your diets, if you mix it up, sample different flavors, different spices, different herbs, different cuisine even, it can make life much more enjoyable than routine, monotony.
I agree. Absolutely. And this makes me think of kind of the difference between the Hormone Imbalance book, which focuses on a plant-based diet, and he's like, absolutely no dairy, no meat. And then a book that we haven't discussed, but I've referenced, is The Blue Zones by Dan Buttner, and he looked at different populations with a long health span and thought, well, even the ones that ate meat
and had a shot of vodka
and drank were fine, and maybe that's just, despite of those things, because the other parts of their life were healthy, or maybe it's this hormesis.
Yeah. But I kind of like where you were going. You and I talk about lifestyle and establishing a healthy lifestyle, and there's dimensions to that. And when we do wellness checks, a lot of us look or, inquire of our customers or clients or whatever you want to call them, tell me about your sleep. Tell me about your social interactions. When was the last time you laughed? What made you feel happy? Do you have depressive thoughts often? There's a sort of a inventory you go through, checking, how active are you? What do you do for work? How's your financial health? There are all sorts of dimensions in that wellness constellation that can get out of whack and cause the whole system to go kapunk. And that's why, a total overview and total wellness is not just one piece of that pie. Because you could have a really great diet, but if you're overstressed and you hate your spouse and you've experienced a death in the family, things are not going to be probably healthy.
Exactly. And that's why people call it the wellness wheel. Exactly. Because it can be pretty wobbly if one part is.
And it's worth checking out every now and then, isn't it?
Checking in and seeing where you stand on these different areas.
Is your wheel round or has it got some bumps and lumps?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it can be perfectly smooth because life isn't like that. But if there's one area or lots of areas that are struggling.
Yeah, and that idea of taking one and maybe not all of them at the same time to work on can be a better outcome for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And give people control. A lot of times they feel out of control. I mean, I have. There have been times in my life when I thought, and then just being able to kind of get your fingernails back up on the edge and pull yourself up over the ledge and be standing strong, is you can do it, and we can all do it. But we need to intentionally take care of ourselves, but we also need to surround ourselves with people who are going to be inclined to help us do that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of kind of one step at a time and baby steps, which is what we love to do at Well Balanced Nutrition, is help you take baby steps. I'm, again, Kristen with Well Balanced Nutrition. You can check us out at wellbalancednutrition.com. We offer one-on-one nutrition coaching, group courses, and every month we do a free webinar. We'd love for you to join us.
And I'm Eleanor Russell at 360health4u.com, making healthy happen. And we're building healthy bodies, healthy homes, a healthy planet, and healthy bank accounts. If you're interested in that, talk to me. Eleanor Russell, 360health4u.com.
Have you, Eleanor, taken any baby steps based on some of the concepts we've learned in this book?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I mentioned one at the beginning of the year. I decided that I'd been a little too infrequent in my exercise and irregular, and so I started to collect the 2021 miles. I'm up to 200.
Yay.
Yeah, so I might get my 12. Personally, I'd like to get 1,200. My team is shooting. We have a 5-person team, and we're hoping to have the 2021 miles between all of us, and we're already at 1,000. So we will get to 2021 as a team probably by July if we keep the rate up that we've got. Of course, when it gets hotter, I don't know what that's going to do. I've enjoyed the cool weather walking, but yes, I'm walking regularly. I did some planking. I did a 30-day challenge with some planks, and as soon as that was over, I planked once. So I fell off the plank, and I think I need to remind myself that that's good practice.
But overall, you've been moving more.
Yes, I have been, and I feel a lot. I feel like a different person this year than I was last year because of that.
Now, you posted a couple times on, I don't feel like walking, but I've got this goal, I've got this group.
Do it anyway.
And do it anyway.
Yeah, that accountability helps.
Yeah, that's key, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about, sometimes when you surround yourself with people who encourage you or are aware of what you're trying to do, it helps. And that plank thing, I don't think I would have done 30 days if I hadn't had a team doing that either, because it's like, well, I'm going to let them down if I don't report in that I did my planks. And, I got stronger. I did through that 30 days. So why I stopped, I have to think about, because it was working. How about you? Have you tried anything?
Yeah, I've also tried to move more. I've been watching my steps, trying to get more steps in, which I think I mentioned last time. But I'm also focusing on cardio. I haven't been a fan of cardio. But through the books that we've read, I've found how important it is for my mental health, for my focus, and just overall cellular health. So I've incorporated 20 minutes of cardio. My goal is 4 times a week. And I'm a Beachbody subscriber, so I've got Sean T encouraging me to do these 20-minute cardio exercises. And I feel great when I do them. And I think now about the other benefits besides, it's just healthy or it helps you maintain your weight. And that's motivating me.
I think that sounds great. And I'm happy that our podcast is influencing our own health.
Yeah.
I think that's a good outcome. I was going to say, I have someone who sent me information about our podcast, and they said, I agree with you and Kristen about switch. Need more thought. I eat mostly a plant-based diet that works for me. I'm covered on protein, carbs, and veggies. I get my dairy from fortified oat milk and sheep yogurt, not plant-based. Your wealth of knowledge on the nutrition world is amazing. Keep shining on the blog, you all.
Oh, what a wonderful review. Thank you.
So I thought that was kind of fun to share. And anybody else that has any comments, please let us know if this is making a difference in your world.
Yeah, absolutely. That means the world to us to hear those comments, what you'd like us to talk about, what you liked. Even tell us what you didn't like. Well, we're open to hearing it all. So thank you for that review and reading it. Let's see, what else have we been up to since the book club?
Well, I'm trying to eat plants for 7 days. So I'm doing a plant-based diet for 7 days right now.
Oh, you're currently in it?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, so day 2, I started my day off with sweet potatoes, like a baked sweet potato slice with a little slice of banana and some fresh blueberries. Oh, it was so good.
Sweet potato bake for breakfast. Yum.
Just 3 little slices of it with, a banana slice on each one and the blueberries. And it tastes good. And a little cup of green tea. It's a good way to go.
Nice. So what inspired the 7-day?
Well, every year at 2 times a year at the equinoxes, I do a detox 7-day thing, and I try to still my mind. I did some yoga last night with Jennifer Locklear at Louisville family counseling. Yay, Jennifer. They're doing some yoga for fatigue, for anxiety, for depression, just mental. It's mindfulness yoga. Mindfulness yoga is what it's called. So I'm doing that, and I'm trying to just remember the person I want to become and take some time to reflect on that seriously for 7 days, because I forget about it on other days, but maybe this practice will be good. So with that, I do a plant-based diet and try to eliminate the dairy, the alcohol, the chocolate, the sweets, the flour, get the cravings back in line. It works for me. I find that since I do it every 6 months, it gets a little easier, but I do find I will slide my habits and get tempted by things that I don't really want to include in my diet, but there they are.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just a really intentional 7 days to focus
it is
on
for me.
the whole self, including the diet, what goes in, what thoughts you're having, what you're putting out into the world as well.
Yeah, just a self-check. So I do that twice a year.
Yeah, well, that's neat. I love that. That's a great thing.
Oh, and you know what that brings up? The equinox with the 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of night. And recently in our Carolinas, we're a state that does a daylight savings time, and it kicked in last weekend, didn't it, Kristen?
It did. So, we talked about sleep before, and this is one thing that can knock your sleep patterns off
Tell me
track.
about it. I'm not sure we need to keep doing this daylight savings time.
I'm not either. Now, I will say, though, that both I woke up earlier and my kids have started waking up earlier. So this time, for the first time, we were kind of ready for that transition. But in the past, it just has knocked us off track completely. And, kids don't understand the concept of time, so they just wake up with the sun anyway.
I don't either. I'm a victim of that one.
Yeah.
And I'm older than your kids.
And I feel bad for my husband because he went into a long week of ICU this week right after the time change.
Oh, Lord.
So that means really early mornings for him. So he was basically up at like 4:30.
Well, there's a book out there called The 5 a.m. Club. Have you heard anything about that one?
Not the book, but I've heard of that concept.
Yeah, I haven't read the book either, but I bumped into it last week, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity for that, because people are, they're shifting their time. But I do a lot of Zooming. I don't know if you do a lot of Zooming anymore, but
nowadays, yeah.
Yeah. So, and what that's opened up is more of an international community for me and more of a national community. So time zones become important. And we have a gal in Australia. So when we're like 12 hours difference, almost exactly for where she's living in Australia. And yet in the United States, we've got the mountain time, and different states in the mountain zone are on it or not on it. This daylight thing, if we were all on the same time, and then when the zones we could deal with, but with some of us on daylight savings and some of us not, it gets confusing. Is what time is this meeting? Oh, I thought it was, and I missed it.
Yeah, hard to keep up with.
So I guess we're just going to have to talk to our Congress people about that. You all let us know what you think about time zones. We've enjoyed chit-chatting a little more after our books, and we'll tell you what the next book is after we've read it.
Views and opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and are not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted, and no part can be reproduced without the expressed written consent of Kristen and Eleanor.